Alejandro Garnacho has been kicked out of Manchester United by Ruben Amorim. It was said by David Ornstein. Breaking: Ruben Amorim has informed his Manchester United squad he will remain in charge next season, while telling Alejandro Garnacho to find a new club. Sources indicate Amorim addressed the players at the club's Carrington training ground today to inform them of his own plans and those of Garnacho. Essentially, it's come out that today at Manchester United training, there was a meeting between all the players involving Garnacho, and Amorim told in front of the players that Garnacho can leave and find a new club, and he will be the manager next season. So it's not even like he's had a private meeting with Garnacho. He's told the whole squad in front of Garnacho to go find a new club. He will be in charge of Manchester United. Big news coming out today. Big news. Twitter is completely down and complete mess today. So a lot of you guys might have not seen the news. I mean, what is going on with Twitter at the moment? My DMs haven't been working for days. I mean, it's a complete mess. But I managed to grab a screenshot before Twitter went down. Basically saying from David Ornstein, exclusive, Ruben Amorim tells Manchester United squad he will be in charge next season, tells Garnacho to find a new club, happened during a meeting between Portuguese head coach and Man United players at Carrington base today. So we didn't even have a meeting with Garnacho. We didn't even say, like, he literally just had a meeting with the whole club and was like, yeah, Garnacho, you can find a new club. After his comments, Ruben Amorim is fuming. And look, Ruben Amorim has every right to be annoyed. At the end of the day, I sort of took Garnacho's side in the extent of he should have got more than 20 minutes. I understood his frustration. He should have come on at half-time. Ruben Amorim does have favouritism towards Mason Mount, but Mason Mount arguably deserved to start because of the semi-final performance, but Mason Mount should have been hooked off at half-time or at least the 60th minute. Garnacho should have come on at the latest the 60th minute. He didn't come on to the 71st minute, and I think when Garnacho came on, he had a first shot on target. So I felt for Garnacho. And I felt that Garnacho was frustrated. He wanted to play. He wanted to win the game. And I could feel that with Garnacho. But as a player, you can't come out and say that publicly. You can't. You might be annoyed at your manager. You might have said it in the emotion. But you and your brother, you can't do that. Garnacho liking tweets online when people have taken a dig at Ten Hag or Amorim for not playing him. Garnacho's brother constantly coming out. Garnacho constantly making comments. While I agree, Garnacho should have come on earlier. And while I like Garnacho and think we are a better team with Garnacho on the pitch, and people might not agree with me on that because he misses a lot of chances and is frustrating, but at least when Garnacho is on the pitch, he tries and makes things happen. We talk about how many chances Garnacho miss, and all our good chances fall to Garnacho because Garnacho gets in dangerous areas. He drives at people. He makes runs. He makes things happen. We are always more dangerous with Garnacho on the pitch. He'll always be more dangerous than Mount. He can't finish his dinner. He's a little bit selfish. His decision-making is a little bit selfish. We know that. Garnacho thinks about himself. Garnacho cares about himself. He's a little bit selfish. But I don't like this. You know, Ruben Amorim's got to do what he's got to do. He's got bad attitude. You've got to get rid of him. But I'm telling you this now, we will miss Garnacho. A lot of players want Garnacho gone. Not a lot of players. A lot of fans want Garnacho gone. A lot of people in the fan base don't like Garnacho. I like Garnacho, but he's acting like a little brat. Let's be honest. It's constant with Garnacho. He got dropped before the Manchester derby because apparently he was talking back to Amorim. Then Amorim had him on the bench the whole of January, trying to sell him in January. His relationship with Amorim was not good in January because he was talking to Chelsea and Napoli. And then Amorim was like, crap, Rashford's gone, Anthony's gone, I've not got a replacement, Garnacho, you've got to stay. Then Garnacho wasn't great in February. Wasn't great for a little bit. And then in March, I thought Garnacho was really good. Then in April, I thought Garnacho was good. And he had the odd game where he missed chances. But I think the last 2 games, Garnacho's been all right. He's got over 20 goal contributions for Manchester United this season. I think he looked up. He's wasteful. He's frustrating. His finishing could improve. But I've always thought we were better and more dangerous with Garnacho on the pitch. So I was like, you know what? I like Garnacho. I don't know what his relationship was like with Amorim. It was clear he was going to leave in January. The relationship isn't there. But I like him. He should have come on in the final. He should have come on in the final way earlier. He was more dangerous, but this is a team game. This is a team game. And while Garnacho, I think, I want him to stay at Manchester United. I want him to succeed at Manchester United. And I want him to build around Maino and Garnacho and all of that in the past. You have to back the manager. We can't be player FC anymore. Because even though I'm not fully convinced by Ruben Amorim, and even though I'm not fully convinced about all of Amorim's decisions, he doesn't know how to utilise Maino. He's kicked out Garnacho, he's kicked out Rashford. We can't keep backing these players over the manager. We have to just go and let the manager do what he wants. Ruben Amorim could be sat next year and we could be saying, look what's happened with Garnacho and Rashford. The next manager we bring in, might be perfectly suited to Garnacho and Rashford Ball. And Ruben Amorim might get Romano and we might be in a complete mess this time next year. But he had disciplinary issues apparently with Rashford. I think Rashford was late once. And obviously Rashford did an interview suggesting he wanted to go. So Rashford got kicked out. Garnacho's been kicked out. Garnacho is not playing for United again. He will not be in the squad tomorrow. I'd be very shocked if he's in the squad tomorrow. Garnacho has been kicked out of Manchester United. Like Rashford sat on the bench for about 10 games in January. Garnacho will be there, kicked out like Marcus Rashford. That will be the situation. Garnacho won't play for Manchester United again. He won't play for United again. Obviously a big reason the club want Garnacho out was pure profit, but Ruben Amorim's made his decision. And look, I'm not going to lie. I'm not fully convinced by Ruben Amorim, and I'm a big Alejandro Garnacho fan. I like Garnacho. I do think Garnacho is going to have a really good career, and I do think when we sell Garnacho and he starts playing really well for another team, we will look at that and think, and I do understand Garnacho's frustration in the interview. I do. I understand exactly why Garnacho felt like that. I'd feel like that if I was Garnacho. But as a professional footballer who's been warned a few times before about him and his brother opening his mouth, you can't say that in an interview. Even if you feel that, in an interview, you can't say that. And Garnacho knows that. So Ruben Amorim has every right. Would I like Ruben Amorim and Garnacho to make up and Garnacho to apologise and Garnacho to be here next season? Yes, I would like that. He's kicked out Rashford. He's kicked out Garnacho. As the minute a player questions him, he kicks them out. Some people will say Ruben Amorim, he doesn't know how to control the player. Some people will say he's too soft. Other people will go, well, Ruben Amorim's doing exactly what needs to be done because we can't have players that are selfish and in it for themselves. We need players that are in it for the team. You can have mixed opinions. What I will say is, I don't like the idea of Alejandro Garnacho leaving Manchester United, and that might be an unpopular decision. I like Garnacho. I don't like the idea of Garnacho leaving United because I think we're better with him on the pitch and he's dangerous. But I also know that if he's not getting on with the manager and he's got the mentality of himself before the team, you've got to get rid of him. You've got to back the manager. But Ineos need to get a good replacement. Dangerous player. We need a dangerous player. Losing Garnacho and Rashford in one window. I know a lot of the fan base don't like them, but they're the two most direct, dangerous players that run in behind. All our chances would fall to Garnacho. In the past, they would fall to Rashford because they're the left-hand side player. They're dangerous. You saw how Ahmad was marked out of that Europa League final. Tottenham, all they did was mark out Ahmad. They gave Mason Mount all he wanted. Mason Mount couldn't make an impact on the game. They marked Ahmad out. Without Garnacho, without Rashford, Ahmad can get marked out of the game, but we won't have a danger man. I know Cunha's going in. That's good. But we need an electric, runs in behind, dangerous player. Because I tell you this now, Garnacho is better than Nico Williams. He's just got worse PR. Garnacho is better than Madueke. He's better than Sancho. He's better than a lot of players. And I think he could go to Napoli and be fantastic. I think he could go to Chelsea and he'd be their best winger. And people won't agree with me on that. But I think that. I do rate Garnacho. I do believe in Garnacho. But I also know that Ruben Amorim, after that interview, has every right to kick out Garnacho. You're not Cristiano Ronaldo. You get Garnacho. You've not had the best season. Like, I think we're a better team with Garnacho on the pitch. And I think we're more dangerous with Garnacho on the pitch. And Garnacho should have played over Mason Mount. But he's had a hit in this season. He started well, was poor for a bit. The January situation then has been quite good, but he's been wasteful. He has been wasteful. And I think that if Garnacho, improves his finishing and have better players around him and improved his decision making, which I thought had improved this last 2 months, I think he could be a very good player. And I think he will be a very good player. And it's a shame, what's gone down with Rashford. It's a shame what's gone down with Garnacho. It's a shame that Ruben Amorim is giving Kobbie Mainoo 2 minutes. But Kobbie Mainoo doesn't complain. Kobbie Mainoo got 2 minutes. And yes, he's been injured and not been as involved as Garnacho. But Kobbie Mainoo and Garnacho are the two best players in the FA Cup final. They're the reason we're in the Europa League. But Kobbie Mainoo's not been treated well. Deserves more minutes. He's not complaining. As a player that is 20 years of age, you've not made it. And I think Man United don't like the fact that some of the players think they've made it and that they're better than Man United. And I think that's why they're getting rid of Garnacho. I like Garnacho. I've always liked Garnacho. I think he's a good player. I think we're more dangerous with him on the pitch. I think he will be a miss next season. And maybe Ruben Amorim will regret that, but I don't think he will. If Garnacho's causing a problem, if Rashford's causing a problem, we can't be hypocritical. If Luke Shaw was causing a problem and got kicked out, no one would care. If Onana was causing a problem and got kicked out, no one would care. We'd be praising the manager. But because it's Garnacho and a lot of us like Garnacho and he's better than Luke Shaw and he's better than Onana, there is the feeling of, why do you have to do that, Garnacho? But look, am I Ruben Amorim's biggest fan? No. Am I fully convinced by Ruben and Amorim? No. But I'm going to back Amorim. I will be Ruben Amorim out if we get to December time. He's had a good window and I'm not seeing anything. I will be Ruben Amorim out. But I cannot be Ruben Amorim out until he's had a summer with a few of his players in. Because I know that we keep turning on managers and we have the same old players. No manager's going to succeed because Ten Hag was on track to finish 14th. Amorim's finished 16th. Amorim I'm not most convinced by. I think Ten Hag would have won us the final. Ten Hag wouldn't have got us to the Europa League final. We would have been knocked out before that. But Ten Hag would have won us the final. Whereas Amorim at least got us to the final, I guess you could say. I will say, I'm disappointed in Garnacho because he's really only got himself to blame. He's had warnings. He's got himself to blame. Even Sir Alex Ferguson made tactical mistakes in the UCL final against Barcelona twice. I can't understand why people are fuming over Amorim's mistake. Let him learn. That's the way we've got to think about it. Like, I think Amorim got it wrong. And I'm not fully convinced with Amorim and his approach. But I'm also like, he doesn't have his own players in. He's got a particular way of doing it. You know, Ten Hag had us 14th. It didn't matter what manager was going to come in. We were probably going to finish anywhere between 16th and about 9th. I don't think we're ever going to get Europe. You know, maybe there was a manager that would suit the squad more and get the better out of them, yeah. But we have to wait for him to get his own players in and stuff. But look, I like Garnacho. I really do like Garnacho. And I think he's a good attacking player. You know, he can drive at people. He can take shots. He statistically gets some good areas. He makes us more dangerous. A team that has no danger in attack, Garnacho is our most dangerous player. Ahmad's our best attacker, but Garnacho is the most dangerous in the sense of who has the most shots, who has the most big chances, because he makes those runs. He is the most dangerous player. So for me, we need to replace Garnacho. We need to replace Rashford. And for me, you've got to get Cunha and Mbeumo. You have to get Cunha and Mbeumo if you're going to get rid of Garnacho and Rashford, because Anthony went and Sancho went and he didn't replace them. McTominay, we never replaced his goals with anyone. I think the only way you can replace Rashford and Garnacho is Mbeumo and Cunha. Mbeumo and Cunha, because Cunha's got that electricity and Mbeumo's got that left-sidedness that suits Amorim's system. That's what you get. Because Garnacho is selfish, but Garnacho has one of the best work rates. Garnacho runs and tracks back more than most players. He's got one of the best work rates. Garnacho cares, and Garnacho cares a lot, and he tries a lot, and he works hard a lot, and he gives 100%. But Garnacho has a little bit of an ego, and that is his problem. He's got a little bit of an ego, and if he's annoyed at the manager. He knows he's a good player. He knows he can have a good career. He wanted to come in that final earlier and make an impression. But at the end of the day, the manager's in charge, and he's got to learn to respect the manager's in charge. Even if I agree with Garnacho and his frustration, he's got to know the manager's in charge. Thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate that. Hey Alice, greetings from Argentina. Sad news in regards to Garnacho. What do you think about Martinez? Do you think he could still have a place in that defence when he's back? Yeah, sad about Garnacho. I think in terms of Lisandro Martinez, I think that he's had a slow start this season. And then I'd say in the 5 or so games before his injury, he started to look really good. He's got that goal versus Fulham. Leacher looked really good for about a month before he got injured. So let's hope he can, come back and get settled in. But I thought the last month before he got injured, he looked really good, which was a shame. Team Garnacho needs to go, ending up like Rashford and Skew, bad for the squad. A year from now, Garnacho will be lifting a title with a new club while we'll be getting ready for the championship. Or McTominay was lifting his title with Napoli, a lot of people are saying. There's a lot of people got mixed opinions as well. Little Cobby scored the equaliser against Lyon. He then gets an embarrassing few minutes at the end, final kick in the teeth. I feel sorry for Cobby. I really do. I do. There are better academy prospects than Garnacho. Potentially. I think Mantato could suit the system. We've got some good young players in there, but I like Garnacho. I do. I think Garnacho is easily a £60 million player. But now he's been kicked out. Clubs are going to see if they can get him for 50 million. And everyone talks about 50 million for Nico Williams being a really good bargain and a really good deal. I'll tell you this now, Garnacho is a better player than Nico Williams. Nico Williams just has better PR because he's that athletic club and everybody likes them, and he had good Euros. He's got that international hype. He's got that. I tell you this now, Garnacho was a better player than Nico Williams. Anthony joined La Liga in the end of January and has more goals than Nico Williams in the league. I know he's got the same amount of goals as Nico Williams in the Liga. So if everyone talks about Nico Williams being £50 million in the bargain, then Garnacho is £60 million. Especially, I'll tell you that. Someone said Garnacho's nobody to pass to. Garnacho has the right to say what he said, but probably shouldn't have said it. To an extent, I agree. Garnacho has the right to be frustrated and annoyed. And I think had Garnacho had 2 days, was asked that 2 days after the final, he wouldn't have said that about the manager. He said it in the emotions. But as a footballer, you can't say that. I completely agree with how Garnacho felt. But you can't say that publicly about your manager when you play for Manchester United. You're not Cristiano Ronaldo, mate. Maybe if Bruno Fernandes had said that, you've gone fair enough. But it's not like he's been, one of the best 5 players in the world this season. He's been one of our better players, but even he, by his standards, could have had a better season. So, for him to say that, I get why he was dropped for the final, because of what Mason Mount did in the semi-final. I get why Garnacho was dropped for the final. But yeah, Garnacho should have come on at half-time for me. He really should have come on at half-time. But it is what it is. But Garnacho is leaving. I'm trying to see if more news comes out, because it's a bit of a weird situation. There's a lot of stories going about, but Twitter's completely down. But a lot of people are worried. They're saying they have a horrible feeling that United are going to spend the next 10 years regretting selling Garnacho. A comment here says, at the end of the day, Ruben Amorim's man management isn't the most convincing. As soon as something goes wrong with Rashford, kick him out. As soon as something goes wrong with Garnacho, kick him out. Garnacho is one of our best talents. We'll struggle to replace him. We could regret this if Amorim does not succeed. There is that fear. There's 2 ways of looking at it. One way is no issue with Garnacho leaving. He's selfish. He's caused a problem. We can find better. We need somebody that cares about, the team, not themselves. The second perspective could be that people might have is, look, Ruben Amorim's kicked out Garnacho as soon as things go wrong. Of course, Ruben Amorim has the right to be annoyed at Garnacho, but it'll kick out Garnacho as soon as things gets wrong. Man United won't get a good enough replacement. Garnacho will do well elsewhere. We'll be struggling, and we'll be saying, we really kicked out Rashford and we really kicked out Garnacho under Ruben Amorim if Ruben Amorim doesn't do well. Like, that's the 2 perspectives. If Ruben Amorim gets sacked in a couple of months or next year and Garnacho and Rashford are doing well elsewhere, we'll be thinking we kicked them out because of this manager. That's the perspective. But then we've had player power and player issues for so long. So I think Ineos have every right to go, we're not going to listen to the players anymore. We've got to listen to the manager. But there's 2 perspectives about it. Some people go, life goes on. Good riddance. He's selfish. Other people are saying, we'll regret this. Other people are saying Garnacho only has himself to blame. Should have shut his mouth. Such a shame. Got to go. That's sort of what's been said. Thank you very much for the super chat. Hi Alice, I'm a big fan of Garnacho, so this might be biased, but he's still got something at United. I wanted Garnacho to stay, and I'm a big fan of Garnacho. I like Rashford and I like Garnacho, and I wanted them to be part of our future. I can understand why Ruben Amorim's had enough, because I don't think this is the first incident with Garnacho. There was an incident with apparently Garnacho walking away from him and all of that, and that didn't go down well. So I can understand why Ruben Amorim's potentially had enough. But yeah, it's a difficult one because I like Garnacho and I didn't want him to be sold this summer. And it's frustrating because 2 of my favourite players in Rashford and Garnacho that I think are good players and are underrated by the fan base have basically been kicked out by this manager who's finished 16th and lost a Europa League final to Tottenham, who got 17th and got out-tacticked by Ange. That's what I'm not fully convinced by. I'm not fully convinced by the project, but I'm also aware enough and alert enough in my brain to know that the players have been a problem at this club for so long, and that every manager comes in and struggles under the same players. The only way to truly succeed is to get the players out, get the players out, get a whole load of new players in, and hope that Ruben Amorim can work with them. Because if this time next year we're about to finish 4th place in the Premier League, we're all going to be happy again. We are going to be happy again. And we're not going to care about Rashford. We're not going to care about Garnacho if we get top 4 in the Premier League next season, are we? Because, look, top 4 is what we used to just want as a bare minimum a few years ago. Top 4 is like winning the league now because we're 16th. But it's like, yeah, of course, I'm not the biggest fan of getting rid of Garnacho and Rashford, but I have to be alert to the fact of he said what he said. He shouldn't have said that. Amorim has the right to be annoyed. And look, we want the ownership to back the manager. Do we? Do we not? Like, again, I'm not fully convinced by Amorim. We're 16th. I don't see any improvement. He doesn't know how to use Maino. He's kicked out Rashford. He's kicked out Garnacho. But I'm like, well, no matter what was going to happen with these players, I still feel like we're going to be bad. So we just got back the manager. Ruben Amorim did inform Man United squad that he will be in charge next season. He's told Garnacho to find a new club. And every Manchester United player is reportedly up for sale, which is pretty mad. There's talk of Sancho coming back as well. There is talk of Sancho coming back. I mean, Amorim won't have Sancho. If Amorim won't have Rashford or Garnacho, he won't have Sancho. Gaz says, I blame the owners, they're awful. Philip says, Garnacho's selfish, regardless of our striker, his job is to put the ball in the box. I mean, Garnacho has created the most chances for us this season, to be fair to him. But Højlund's never there. Hearing a lot of deaf players for bad behaviour, the bad culture within the dressing room needs rooting out. To say Amorim is vindictive, ag players that disagree him with him short-sighted. I don't really know what you mean by that. I don't have the brains to figure out what that means. You needed those players he off them based on emotion. Is Amorim being too emotional and offing players based on emotion that would improve us? Or is Amorim trying to reset the culture and getting rid of these players because he thinks it will improve the culture? There's two ways of thinking of it, isn't it? Big up Amorim for getting Garnacho to F off. Lots of mixed opinions in the chat. What do you think of Amorim tactically so far? It's not the most convincing, but there's areas we have improved. There's no denying there's areas we haven't improved. You need to start from the bottom up. A complete reset at this point literally couldn't be any worse. Got nothing to lose. The one thing I will say is if you sell Garnacho for 60 million, we could spend up to 240 million from that money for PSR reasons. Bruno's leaving. We can invest the money on Palmer. Chelsea would sell him. I don't think Chelsea would sell him to us, or at least not for under 200 million. Left-sided attacker is where Cunha plays. Look, Cunha and Mbeumo is how you replace Rashford and Garnacho for me. I mean, how would you guys replace Rashford and Garnacho? Glazers and Ratcliffe out. This is not Sporting Lad. Amorim can't save us. Dad said he's dreading next season. 16th place, and we improved. Well, we have not improved, really. Worst Man United season ever. I thought Garnacho was the best player in the final. We should have started. Cunha's going to make Amorim's life hell. Well, there's the worry there. You know, Cunha's known for making a fuss. Why did he bench Ugarte? If he was talking about... The thing that I think is weird is I understand benching Ugarte, but then apparently Ruben Amorim said before the final he's worried about Man United's lack of physicality in midfield to compete with Tottenham. If Amorim was saying that before the final, then why didn't he start Ugarte and put Bruno where Mount is? My worry is that Amorim might have a newfound favouritism love to Mason Mount, who's had one good game in that semi-final, and I like Mason Mount. But you could have just had Mount on the bench and played Bruno higher up, or you could have had Garnacho on for Mount, but he went with Mount. There's that question. Amorim is currently implementing a cultural reset, but I believe he needs to hit the ground running next season. I agree. I don't like the fact that Garnacho, Rashford are going to go, but it's the cultural reset that's needed. The reason I don't like that fact isn't because I don't think a cultural reset is needed. A cultural reset is needed, but it's the fact of if Amorim leaves and we have a manager that comes in and plays a 4-3-3 and wants a direct, quick winger, we sold Garnacho and Rashford on the cheap and we need 100 million to find a player to replace them. And that's what I don't like. Ruben Amorim, as soon as something goes wrong with a player, he's off. And he's selling this player and that player and that player. That's what I don't like. Because it could bite us if we sat Ruben Amorim. But we do need a cultural reset. And Ruben Amorim, getting rid of Garnacho because he's done this, getting rid of Rashford because he's done that, it's the start of the cultural reset we've been asking for. But we need to hit the ground running. I'm all for a cultural reset, but we've got to hit the ground running next season. Because if we're not looking good at Christmas time, I will be Amorim out. I'm going to give him the summer. I'm going to give him time to do a cultural reset. Even if he's selling the players that I would want to stay at Manchester United, like Rashford and like Garnacho, even if he's selling them, even if he's not utilising Maino, who I think is one of the best talents in world football that he's completely underusing, I have to just back Amorim because of what he's done at Sporting, the fact that the players haven't succeeded under other managers and that they're probably the bigger problem, and allow him to do that cultural reset. But it's got to look good quick next season. A lot of people have mixed opinions on Amorim. Don't trust Amorim. Imagine you're a top player and Amorim comes in and tells you you're playing wrong and you need to do this. I understand frustration. You know, Amorim's come in and told Rashford this and told Garnacho that, and then, you know, all of a sudden he'll play Højlund and Mount loads because Højlund and Mount don't complain. And we know that Rashford and Garnacho are better than Højlund and Mount. Like, Rashford's not a striker, but Rashford would have done more if he started striker than Højlund in the final. Because Højlund and Mount are nicer and don't complain, even though they're worse than Rashford and Garnacho, they can stay. There is the question marks there of it's not about nice and how much you get on with them. You need the better players to stay. You need the better players on your side. Is it bad that he's getting the better players off his side? I don't know, but we need the cultural reset. Amorim blew the final. Should have put Ugarte and Maino in midfield from the start and Garnacho on the wing. So it's 2 rep. It is easy to say that now we've lost. Like, going into the final, I was happy with the lineup. But as soon as the final started, I felt, actually, this is a game for Ugarte. This is a game for Garnacho. Amorim gets sacked when top 7 is unattainable. Look, I hope Amorim succeeds and I hope Amorim doesn't get sacked. But I'm not fully convinced. Do you know what? My thoughts is massively going to change on what we do in the summer. I think if you get Amorim and Mbeumo and Cunha, a striker, a good midfielder and a good wing back and a good goalkeeper, he's got no reason not to succeed. Thank you very much for the super chat. Oh, that's the wrong one. Thank you very much for the super chat. Hi there, our lack of discipline at United. Amorim has to do what he has to do. We too play FC, and that's the thing. I like Rashford. I like Garnacho. I think they're good players. I think they're better than most players in the squad. I think we're a better team with them playing. But Amorim's got to do what he's got to do, and we've got to land to the culture reset. And thank you very much as well for being a member 2 months. Look, we got to back manager. Fergie kicked out players and he won. We've got to be ruthless and stop player FC. Yeah, 100%. 100%. We have to stop player FC. I like the players. I don't want these players to go. I have concerns if we get rid of these players and Amorim doesn't work out, it's bad. But you're right. You know, Amorim's finished 16th. He's bottled a final to Tottenham. Some people say, does he deserve to be backed? There's that question there. But we have to just back him. Someone said you missed my super chat. Did I? Oh, sorry, I have. But the chat's moving so fast. We got to the cultural reset's more important. We can't be player FC. We've got to look at the fact that we need a cultural reset. I completely agree. No more player FC. Yes to cultural reset. That's the situation at Manchester United. I completely agree. Thank you for the super chat. Nothing will change unless the Glazers and the broke rat goes. And some morons will be excited by the signings, will buy kits, the loop will continue. I agree at the end of the day. We're in this whole situation because of the Glazers and the rat. The environment of this club is toxic because of the Glazers and the rat. I don't think Garnacho's a bad person. I think he's a bit selfish. And I think the environment of Manchester United has let young players get a little bit entitled because we give them too much importance and put them on a pedestal. We give them too much money, too young, so they think they're more important than they are. So when things start to get wrong, they act out and they act like babies. I agree. I think the biggest problem is the rats and the Glazers, and they got to go. I made a whole video on it. But we need a cultural reset. You know, I'm got concerns around Amorim. I've got concerns around him wanting this player out and that player out so quickly, and we could regret it. But at the end of the day, we have to take that risk because we've had a cultural issue for so long. We've just got to get rid of Rashford, and we've just got to get rid of Garnacho. Even if we think they could be missed and they're better than some of the players staying, it's the cultural reset that's needed because culture, I feel like, is becoming a bigger problem at United. I wish Garnacho well, but he is pure profit, and replacing him with an Amorim suitable player is on Ineos. We still need that open heart surgery. I agree. The one thing about Garnacho is he's pure profit. Garnacho and Rashford could bring us in 100 million combined, and that could allow us to spend 400 million pounds technically. Now, it's a lot more complicated than that, but if we sell Garnacho and Rashford for 100 million combined, and then we sign 400 million's worth of players and split that over 4-year contracts, we're technically only spending 100 million pounds for the 100 million pounds that we sell. So we could spend a load of money, but it's a lot more complicated than that. And what players has Amorim wanted out so quickly? Within a few days, he decided he wanted Rashford out. He tried to get to Garnacho in January. They made up. He now wants him out now. Like, he has every right to be annoyed that Rashford said in an interview he's got questions over his future. So, of course, he kicks Rashford out. He's got every right to be annoyed with Garnacho's interview. At the end of the day, Garnacho's only got himself to blame because of that interview. At the end of the day, Garnacho only has himself to blame because of the interview. And Amorim has, I think, every right to be annoyed at that and say, look, you can go. And as I said, I'm all here for the cultural reset. If Amorim's in that interview, he's not happy with it and he said, look, you can go. You know what? Look, you can go. That's the cultural reset we need. You know, we can't do favourite players. We can't cry over favourite players. I like Rashford, I like Garnacho. I can't cry over it. I can't turn on Amorim over it. I have to say, well, we wanted a cultural reset. I can't be a hypocrite. If he'd done that to Onana, I'd have been happy. So, you know, you have to be, yeah. So we have to be, Garnacho cares about himself and he's selfish, and we need team players, not individual players. And we have to fix the culture. And Garnacho only has himself to blame. He shouldn't have said that. Do I agree with what he said? Yeah, he should have got more than 20 minutes. But you cannot say that as a professional footballer. You cannot come out in an interview and say that. You know, yeah. My Twitter isn't really working. I wanted to share more news about this. I wanted to share more stories, but my Twitter is just, the app's just atrocious at the moment, isn't it? Absolutely atrocious. I mean, I can see what I can find. Shall I see what I can find? Ben Jacobs said that United wants 60 million for Garnacho in January, and they had a 60 million price tag on Garnacho, but now that's set to drop. So because he's fallen out with the manager, we'll probably get 50 million for him, not 60 million. Great. Ruben Amorim has informed Manchester United that he will be in charge, informed the Man United squad that he'll be in charge next season, and told Alejandro Garnacho to get a new club in front of the players. Is essentially what's been said in that sense. There is a lot of transfer news about Manchester United wanting 3 attackers coming in, and considering that Sancho, Rashford, Antony and Garnacho are all leaving and Højlund's not good enough, that's 5 attackers. We will be getting 3 attackers coming in now. I'm confident of it. I don't know if we'll be able to get Mbeumo. We seem to have Cunha in the bag. I don't know if we'll be able to get Mbeumo, but I want Mbeumo, I want Cunha, and I want a striker. There's some talk over the future of certain players coming out now. Højlund's is expected to leave. Man United will accept around 50 million for Garnacho. That was said by David Ornstein. Romano also said it's very unlikely that Garnacho will be here next season. I think, like Rashford, even if Garnacho was here next season, he'd be just sitting on the bench. I think Amorim's just had enough. He's not going to play him. He'd just sit and rot on the bench, a bit like Rashford did the last month he was here. Romano has said that Garnacho is expected to leave Manchester United in case of a good proposal for both parties, reported on Thursday. United are open to selling certain players. So, yeah, there's a lot of interest. Again, Romano has confirmed there's interest in Garnacho. And look, as mentioned here, he's pure profit. At the end of the day, Man United see Garnacho as pure profit. And that's going to help us. We just got to hope that when we sell Garnacho and we sell Rashford, we invest that money wisely. We have to invest that money wisely. You know, we sell players, they go do really well elsewhere, and we go and spend that money on crap. We need to make sure we invest that wisely. Are you worried for next season? Yes, but look, this is Ineos' chance. Ineos, we've lost faith in you, but this is your chance to go out, have a bloody good transfer window, bring in who needs to be brought in, and let's see what happens next season. Amorim had a full reset in his first season at Sporting. Like a full reset. I'm talking like 8 in, 8 out. And that's what we need. We need that full reset. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up today's live stream here. I wanted to just do a shorter half-an-hour live stream talking about the news. I would have had more news and more stories up, but Twitter's completely down at the moment. It's a complete mess. But yeah, there's a meeting at Carrington today. All the players were at training. And Garnacho was told today that Amorim told the players today that he will stay and that Garnacho can find a new club. And that's been confirmed by Ornstein. Thank you for watching. Bye.